The glory days of the One Planet Challenge is when Apocalypse came out, introducing the life-seated Civic, giving us a size 25 Gaia world. Sadly, with the advent of 2.2 Le Guin, many thought that the One Planet Challenge was dead. You would need more population in order to keep your planet rolling. You wouldn't be able to sustain a large empire, they said. You couldn't get enough science, they said. You wouldn't be able to get the resources that you needed in order to survive into the late game. Today, we're going to prove them wrong. Welcome to the One Planet Challenge in 2.2. The most overpowered build in the game. And it is amazing. So what is the One Planet Challenge, you may ask? Well, the One Planet Challenge is the following. You don't get off your planet. You don't colonize, you don't build any habitats, you don't build any ring worlds, you stay on your rock. Sure, you can expand territorially as far as you want, but you can never, ever, ever get off the planet that you're playing on. Otherwise, it wouldn't be the One Planet Challenge, wouldn't it? Alright, first things first, we're gonna need three things in order to get this particular build going. First of all, we're going to need to have Utopia, we're going to need to have Apocalypse, and we're going to need to have Megacorp. And probably also Vanilla. I did have quite a long think about whether or not we can do this with any other expansions, or whether or not we really need this, but yes, sadly, we do need all these expansions due to certain policies, edicts, ascension perks, and a type of species right. And sadly, all of these are features in these, so yeah. So we're gonna be playing pacifists. No, don't click away. No, I know a lot of you want to go full emperor on this bad boy, but what have I told you? We're playing as hyper aggressive pacifists, because yes, that is in fact a thing. Let's go over our remaining traits, shall we? We are inwards perfect. And why do we want to be inwards perfect? It's mainly for the unity increase, which we're going to need for ascension perks, the pop growth speed for 20% extra, and the pop happiness bonus of 5%. Now, this by itself may not seem like a bigly deal, but don't you worry, it is going to be important. Of course, the life-seeded bonus, which gives us a size 25 Gaia world, it's going to be really important until the mid-game. Why the mid-game, you ask? Well, the resources that are on the planet, especially the rare planetary features, are only really going to be relevant until the mid-game. And of course, that is part of the Apocalypse expansion. The other, the other ethics that we have are not really all that important. Just make sure that you have multiples of them, because we're gonna be abusing a certain type of war system, specifically the ideology one. Because we are pacifists, it means that we can have liberation wars, which means that we can force our ideology on other empires. And the more we have of different types, the more empires we can have ideology wars with. Of course, egalitarian doesn't really matter, even though the faction influence multiplier is nice, as well as a specialist output bonus, always good. And of course, why could we not? The xenophobe ethic. It is very important that we have this one, because we are going to be doing a little dash of enslavement, just a little bit, also a little bit of purging, just a smidgen. Okay. Sure, other empires won't like us. Won't matter past the first 20 years. Believe me, it's gonna be really good. Anyway, on top of that, our traits, the rapid breeders for the pop growth speed, sedentary because, well, we don't need to have any immigration. You will see why soon. The resettlement costs, we are only on one planet. This is effectively a free one. Wasteful, sure, we can probably, this is just a filler for later on. We can always genetically engineer this one out. Traditional for the unity bonus, because once again, unity is very important. And communal for the pop housing uses minus 10%, which, once again, past the mid-game, not going to be a problem for us. So let's dive right in, shall we, and see how the One Planet Challenge affects this. Our opening by itself is very straightforward. We're 15 years into the start of the game. It's very standard. Of course, we have not expanded because we are, of course, a Gaia world. Our capital is very straightforward. We've done a little bit of generator districts, a little bit of mining, a little bit of agricultural, and of course getting our second alloy foundry online. This is not important. What is important is our first tradition tree, which is the following. Our first tradition tree is going to be supremacy. Yes, supremacy. Normally, you're playing your standard empire, expansion, discovery, fairly straightforward. You want to get your expansion on. No, we are going to go full on supremacy. Why do we want to go full on supremacy? Well, because of Aid of War doctrines and the various bonuses that we're going to get through our individual perks, such as the Overwhelming Force one, the Great Gain, which is star-based damage, which is going to be good because we are going to play relatively tall war games, which is going to give our fleet command limit a little bit more of a boost, which means that we can have larger fleets early on, ship upkeep for our economy, and of course being able to build more ships a lot quicker. Now, then the real question is, what is going to be our first Ascension perk? Well, we've got quite a lot of them, and for a one planet challenge, what you would do in the past is we'd go either Technological Ascendancy or One Vision for that Unity bonus or the Technology bonus, which by itself is fairly straightforward. However, considering in 2.2, the well, let's put it this way, technology doesn't really matter anymore, at least not in the very short term, and Unity by itself, if you don't have the population or at least the buildings to produce it, then you may as well not pick it. 2.2 is all about pops, and considering we're a single planet, we only have so much growth speed. So how are we going to get all the boys to the yard? Introducing Nihilistic Acquisition, arguably the best perk in the game. Or at least, yeah, the best Ascension perk in the game. What exactly does it do? This particular Ascension perk unlocks the Raiding Bombardment stance. What it does is, if you've ever seen a film where people get abducted by aliens and brought back, that's exactly what it does. We are going to be abducting our entire population. We don't need growth speed. All we need is other species that may or may not be brought here without consent. And that's right. So, Nihilistic Acquisition. Oh boy. We jump forward a little bit because we have made first contact and we've gotten ourselves into our very first war. A war of ideology. For instance, if I go to our neighbors, we can impose our ideology because we have liberation wars available to ourselves. And that is going to be the key here. So out of sheer curiosity, you may ask, so we have Nihilistic Acquisition. We're going to be trying to stake these pops back to our capital world, but how are we going to be treating these pops? Well, this is where Utopia comes in. Let's set the default rights for other pops, shall we? First of all, make sure that in your policies, we've got purging enabled, and as well as slavery allowed, because that is going to be important here. But yeah, under default rights, let's go to our citizenships and set them to undesirables, purge type to forced labor. Now the thing with forced labor is this is a Utopia specific species right, and what it does is it effective pops are worked to death and can be used to produce food and minerals until their eventual demise. I think you're already seeing where we're going with this. All the boys are gonna come to the yard. Every single last one of them. So, with this particular setup, we can, of course, have our fleets being effectively in orbit for an infinite amount of time, and basically say, hey, okay, so orbited bombardment is running perfectly fine.
Anomalous readings detected.
How is this going to work? Well, there is a little bit of a bug I have encountered. So if you're trying to basically steal pops off of a planet, or at least the very first one, if you're going to try to do this, then there is a chance that they may not be stolen. I am playing this on 2.2.3. So instead, let's put them quickly to slaves and to a livestock, and at this point, they should automatically be abducted from
evading
their
hostiles.
So we just need to wait here until the first pops come in, and then we take it from there. Now at this stage, we've abducted our very first pop, and it has been moved to our capital world, which means that instantly we can change its status to the following. We can set its rights to, undesirable for its type into forced labor, which is absolutely great. And then we can take a look at our capital world and see how it will perform from this moment
System resources
onwards.
analyzed.
So by itself, if you look at our population, specifically our undesirables, one pop generates 4.94 minerals and 4.04 food. Pretty decent, you know, it's pretty good. What if I told you that your goal is to fill over 1,000 of these on your planets? Oh yeah. Remember the bit about that we had farms and mines and stuff, as well as energy? We're going to be replacing all of those with city districts as soon as we have enough planets to float enough pops, our undesirables on our planets, to float our entire economy. And then we're going to build an ecumenopolis. Oh boy, we're going to go for eternal pacifism war. Being all the boys, like I said, coming to the yard, and they're going to work in the mines forever. Now you may be wondering, ASpec, but as soon as we've won the war, the ideology will be pushed upon these aliens, and then we'll never be able to steal pops from them again because we're pacifists. Yeah, you say that. The thing with the joy of liberation wars is that we can always settle status quo. And that means nothing happens. But the pops, they ain't going home. In this particular scenario, I've moved the clock forward a little bit and moved on towards our second war. We have currently abducted a ton of pops, as well as a whole bunch of other ones. We got 31 of these. So if we currently status quo out of this war, they're not going home. They're slowly over time, they're going to replenish their population. And then it will just be time for yet another reaping. But you say, ASpec, your economy is in a terrible, terrible shape. Allow me to illustrate. Let's go to our species tab. Let's set the rights for this here species. Once again, we're going to turn them into undesirables forced labor. And as you will see very shortly, as the month ticks over, we're quickly going to put
Anomalous readings detected.
Fast. Let's take a look here. And there we go. We now have 235. We just boosted our economy by 100 pops. Now we're going to set up an automatic trade for minerals. 200 of them. Actually, let's make it 130. And we're going to do the same thing with food. Let's add an automatic trade. That's one. There we go. 110. Let's make it 150, shall we? So currently at minus 31, right? Yeah, okay, fair enough. Minus 31. We can deal with that. That's all cool. Month's gonna tick over. Economy don't care. Plus 213. 259 years into the game. And more pops are joining our ranks. Let's take these human pops, for instance, that we just received. We got 2 of them. Let's set their rights, shall we? To undesirables. Oh boy. We're gonna go infinitely bringing these guys back to our planet. Now, the real problem with this particular setup is that eventually, if you don't go to war, you're going to run out of undesirables in your empire that you can work
Scientific
to death
progress
in
attained.
your mines. And that's why we're going to be going to war all the time. We're always going to be abducting pops all the time. Let's jump forward, shall we, as we're just getting more and more abducted pops by the second. So as time goes on, you will get more and more pops in your empire. We're now 92 years into the game. We got 149 pops, of which only 69 are part of our core species. All the other ones are undesirables, but eventually you will start picking up robots from other worlds as well. And that's great because you can use them as specialists. Now, you may be wondering, our economy is overflowing, but over time, we're just gonna get more and more pops. So we're just gonna adjust our buy and sell orders to get even more money. This is basically Spaceballs, the quest for more money. Now, there's also another thing we may want to keep in mind here. We're playing relatively tall. We are slightly over our Empire Sprawl cap. That's not really the end of the world, but what we do want to do here is build some islands. As you may have noticed here is that we've built some islands, and the only reason we did that is because of the special space resources that are here. There are 3 gases, a couple of motes, and a couple of alloys. Plus, on top of that, we've got ourselves a single piece of space really far away that has a ruined matter decompressor in it if we want to go mega structures in the late game, which we totally can. There's 4 crystals in here, a bunch more gas, and on top of that we got ourselves yet another ruined mega structure here, which is a mega art installation, which is going to boost our unity even more by the time we get mega structures. Regardless, what does this actually do? Why do we do this? Well, we can cherry pick any system we want because we can handle a much better flow of unity. We're not constantly expanding, but we need to be very careful with this because of this particular system down here called Empire Cohesion. If Empire Cohesion is low, it will impact our happiness, our food income, our economy, etc. So always make sure that this is 100%, but we can always just grab whatever system we want, whilst at the same time looking for wormholes to find ourselves new reaping grounds. Excuse me, whilst we're picking up even more pops off of these planets as one of our leader dies. That's fine. Oh, there they are. Another robot pop has joined us. What a delight.
Progress attained.
Yeah. Because we have such a ridiculous economy, it means that we don't need to build any consumer good factories. And this is great because it means we can just buy new consumer goods right off the map. Because the income from minerals and food is floating our entire economy. So, at this stage, we also want to get galactic force projection as well as technological ascendancy to boost our economy a little bit. You can get an Ecumenopolis, which is going to be the next step by the time we get to our 3rd ascension perk, but you're going to need to focus pretty heavily on your technology side on the, I believe it is the 0G housing. That's the weather control systems. So always get weather control systems and then go to 0G housing, because that is a requirement for the Ecumenopolis or arcology setup. So if we can quickly go down here to where it is, yeah, we're going to need anti-gravity engineering as well as a empty ascension slot, which we currently don't have. Getting it as the 3rd one is probably a good option, but yeah, always good to have that. Let's turn our planet into an Ecumenopolis, shall we? Now we have 400 pops in our empire. It's 2344. We're a little bit late on this particular one, but our pops overall, they seem to be having a good time. Our economy seems to be in a great space. We got over 1200 energy a month being pumped in. We got a lot of undesirables. We're constantly at war. And on top of that, the one above all, Capital World, has seen better place. We have a lot of crime going on, but it doesn't impact us all that much because happiness bonuses due to our ethics are pretty damn good. Now we only have 2 alloy mega forges. It's only producing us 26 alloys per month. So we need to make a decision. That decision is, of course, to move towards an arcology project. The arcology project will take about 10 years, which is fine, and as soon as all of that stuff is done, we can start removing all these mega forges, these civilian fabricators, as well as the hyper entertainment forums off of this rock, because we're going to be pumping all of that stuff into various districts. And from that moment onwards, we are going to be completely unstoppable. It is now 10 years later. We got ourselves a Ecumenopolis. In the Ecumenopolis, we got our residential arcologies, we got our foundries, and our foundries are nicely pumping out alloys. We're going to need to build quite a lot of these because we're going to be building a gigantic fleet to conquer the remaining pops in our galaxy. Of course, we're not going to get all of them. We want to give them some time to regrow. They're going to be on a permanent purging cycle, or at least a reaping for us to enjoy. Of course, we don't need these mega forges anymore. They're being handled by the foundries. We don't need the fabricators anymore. They're being handled by the industrial arcologies, as well as the hyper entertainment forums because of the residential arcologies. So there you go. At this moment onwards, you are effectively unstoppable. The only things that can really stop you in your tracks is an Awakened Fallen Empire or a Crisis event, but considering you should be able to build a ridiculous amount of ships anyway, yeah, you should be able to replenish those relatively quickly and fight onwards. So let's take a final look at our One Planet Challenge build before we wrap things up here. One Planet Challenge build as I mentioned, governing ethics in this particular case, it's critical to have at least xenophobic. Pacifist is definitely an option. Inwards perfection is not necessary for this particular build. It's still nice to have, but being able to getting those liberation wars for the ideology wars is incredibly good. Plus a little bit of an additional admin cap is nice, and of course the stability as well. Xenophobic, I already mentioned this, and egalitarian is just whatever you want. You can make this anything. You can turn this into spiritualist, because playing tall like this, you are most likely going to go down the Shroud path and the Psionic Ascension one. It's incredibly strong, especially on an empire like this. The bonuses that you're going to get are completely insane. Inward perfection, like we mentioned, there's a lot of negatives, but there's so many good positives to it. Sure, you can't have any subjects. Don't need them. We're just going to steal them from somewhere else. Life seeded. No-brainer. It's the thing that floats our entire game. The Byzantine bureaucracy is a nice addition as well. This is, of course, a megacorp addition. Pop amenities as well as housing being reduced and having additional jobs on the planet is very nice. Let's have a quick look at our planet while we're at it. We have 447 pops on our world, where most of them are being worked. 306 of these, almost 3/4, are being purged as of right now and are generating a reasonable amount of resources. 1,404 minerals and 1,359 food. If you look at our economy, we're currently selling 900 of those per month, and we're getting so much energy out of this that we effectively have a Dyson sphere worth of pops being forced labored into nothing. Of course, this particular build works on any type of empire. You want to play wide and do this? Go right ahead. Your economy will be unstoppable. And I will not be surprised if this particular style of gameplay is going to get nerfed in the future, because this is a win scenario. There is no way of fucking this up. You are going to win regardless, because A, your economy is going to be unstoppable. B, the neighboring empires will not have any pops in them, or at least any other empires are not going to have any pops in them to keep up with your production, your technology, your unity, your ascension. It's amazing. You're effectively the Reapers. Every so often, every 10, 20 years, you arrive, steal their pops, bring them back to your planet, turn them into minerals and food. It is such a fun way of playing, and I have really enjoyed working on this particular build together with a couple of people online as well. Meow Beep from the Discord channel, thank you so much for bringing this to my attention. The One Planet Challenge is back. The gameplay works on anything. Get it in now before Paradox nerfs it into the ground, because this is OPAF. If you have any ideas about the One Planet Challenge and how to optimize this build even more, feel free to leave your comments below. This is, of course, a discussion. As always, if you want to see more videos like this, well, feel free to leave a comment below. And, subscribing always helps as well. Until next time, take good care of yourselves and, as always, each other.